What were the red flags of your ex that you should have taken seriously? Story 1. He physically put his hand over my mouth at dinner with my parents because the joke I was telling wasn't funny. My mom was furious. She put her fork and knife on the table, and said to him, "Don't you ever put your hands on my daughter like that again, or ever try to silence her." Later I defended him and said she was way too harsh. A few days later, he and his friend played a funny joke on me when they asked me to be a goalie for them while they shot real pucks at me in his garage. Anytime I tried to leave, he whacked me with his hockey stick. I had bruises all over my body. Mom was right, he was horrible. Edit, I did break up with him after this incident. About 4 or 5 years later, I ran into him at a Barnes & Noble. He was polite, etc., wanted to catch up. I resisted. So he said, "At least let me walk you to your car." I said it wasn't necessary, but he followed me. When I got to my car, he pinned me against the door and tried to kiss me. I pushed him away, but he was really strong. He ended up playing hockey through college and all that. It was the scariest moment of my life, realizing how much stronger he was than me. Thankfully, I was loud enough and angry enough to freak him out, so he backed off and left, but not before telling me I was a. Haven't seen him since last I heard. He was a firefighter, divorced, and had a young son. Story 2. I think the biggest red flag is when you look at yourself and see that you don't like who you are when you're around this person. You might like this person, but if they're making you feel irritable, paranoid, or plain crazy, get out of there. It doesn't have to be something obvious like cheating. You should date people who make you feel safe and comfortable, not the opposite. Sometimes it's the wrong person, sometimes it's the wrong time, sometimes it's both. Edit Ermagerd, thanks for the gold. I don't even know what to do with it. I'm gonna put it all on black. Story 3. 1. Trying to prevent you from hanging out with friends due to jealousy, especially friends of the opposite. I know what guys are thinking. He's into you and it's inappropriate for you two to hang out alone. 2. Guilt trips, for example, telling them you have plans tonight. "Oh, I was really hoping to see you, haven't seen you all week, really miss you," etc. And continuing on and on until you give in and do what they want. Admitting to missing you is one thing, manipulating you is another. 3. Constantly accusing you of cheating. True story. Same ex flipped his when he found a hair on my upper thigh that wasn't his hair after I'd been walking around his apartment naked all day and he had roommates. They weren't home. Claimed this to be concrete proof I was cheating. Surprise. I wasn't. For tantrums, freaking out, screaming, etc. Until you fear for your safety and potentially theirs as well. 5. Stalking, showing up randomly at work, school, etc. to make sure you're not with someone else. Constant unwanted emails, phone calls, etc. 6. Blaming you for issues they are causing, especially when you try to express that you feel mistreated. "Oh, you can't get upset like this, it isn't fair to me, you're the one who's making me do this. Stop hanging out with them and I won't get upset." 7. Trying to make you jealous. "Yeah, she was sitting on my lap and trying to kiss me, but it's no big deal, we're just friends, going to hang out with her later." By 8. I've cheated on all of my exes. And somehow I was surprised when it happened to me. 9. Alarming stories of things they've done that also don't add up. "Yeah, I fought bouncers, am not allowed in certain clubs." And then later you visit that club. "Oh, I had to call an ambulance for that ex of mine. She went crazy and hurt herself in my apartment. I was arrested for going 200 km/h on my motorcycle on the highway and the cop slammed me on the hood of his car. I spent the night in jail, etc. No record, no tickets, still has that bike, nothing. Source: I was 18 and stupid. And yes, this was all the same guy." Edit formatting. Story 4. About a month into our relationship, she was on the phone to a friend of hers. I had noticed she tended to use the word "I" a lot more than the normal person would. I decided to count how many times she said "I" in the 5 minutes she was on the phone to her friend. It was 83. I found it mildly curious but didn't think too much more about it. But in good time she became one of the most self-centered and self-obsessed people I know. Story 5. Yelling and screaming at his mother. When I witnessed this in our first week of being together, I laughed nervously and said, "Gee, I hope you never talk to me that way, haha." Yeah, that was wishful thinking. Story 6. I had an ex who took a condom off mid and hoped I wouldn't notice. Thankfully I heard the noise and noticed it on the floor before I got back on him. I made him put a new one on and we continued, but I should have walked away right then and there. He also used to joke about poking holes in the condoms so he could knock me up and I'd be pressured into marrying him. Story 7. I have had more than one bad ex, and I've also been a bad ex, so let me list some things for you to look out for. 1. Overt emotional reaction. If you say something they disagree with and they immediately begin to tear up, or refuse to talk to you, or start to scream and get exceedingly irritable, get out of that situation. 2. Dependence. If they need to be around you all the time, and especially if they begin trying to keep you away from other people, it's probably a sign that they are incredibly self-centered. 3. Cheaters. If they are known to cheat, there is a good chance they will cheat on you. for addiction. If they are constantly high drunk, it's not up to you to fix them. 5. Lying. If you catch them lying a lot, there is probably more that they are not telling you. Story 8. He told me that if I ever got cancer and the chemotherapy made me lose my hair, he would dump me because bald girls are disgusting. This was after we'd been together for almost a year. He would also tell me what I could and couldn't wear, even if I wasn't planning to see him that day. He'd yell at me if I wore something on the unapproved list. It's sad that these things, along with quite a few other obvious red flags, didn't make me realize what he was until after the relationship ended. Story 9. She pretended to have multiple personalities for the first month only to one day say, "Oh, I was just testing you." That she told me she cast an anti-pregnancy spell on her. Thankfully, I never believed that one. that everyone told me she was nuts including my brother, but now I knew they were all just jealous. Story 10. When you give more of yourself to someone than they give themselves to you. When I first met one of my exes, we initially really hit it off. We had a great time together just getting to know each other, having fun. Once we got more serious, I was always the one suggesting things for us to do, complimenting him, introduced him to my friends, etc. He just never put as much effort into our relationship as I did. Story 11. No female friends. It's not because they just get along with guys better, it's because guys want to screw her and she's an attention, or she creates an absurd amounts of drama with her female friends causing them to ditch her. Story 12. His severe drinking problem. He was fantastic when he was sober, but once he started drinking, he'd turn into the most abusive you could imagine. My last straw was after a day of constantly knocking back shots. He brought his loaded guns out to clean them, scare me. Then he started a stupid fight over nothing and put one of the loaded ones to my head and whispered, "Bang," followed by the most obnoxious laughter ever. I flew out of that house faster than I ever ran before, and the next day he had no memory of it happening and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. Nope. That was about 2.5 years ago, and he still heavily drinks and is still single. Story 13. He was very clingy. At first I found it charming, as the man before him basically ignored me the last 6 months of our relationship, but after a while it became quite exhausting. If I didn't call him every time I had a break at work, or on my drive to work, or my drive home from work, he'd throw a hissy fit like a baby. "But I miss you, don't you miss me? Why don't you want to talk to me? Who are you talking to?" i.e., he was a bit of a control freak when it came to who I spoke to. He constantly talked bad about his ex. At first I kept thinking, boy, she sounds terrible, but then I met her and found out he was twisting stories to make himself the victim. I.e., nothing was ever his fault. He constantly praised my looks, but rarely if ever praised my mind. Again, in the beginning it was nice to feel wanted, but after a while I began to feel like he was really only interested in me because of my looks, i.e., he was shallow. He was incredibly moody. It was exhausting trying to keep up. If I said one thing he didn't like, he'd turn it into a fight and start bringing up things that happened months prior to make me seem like the bad guy. I should have known from the beginning he was not quite stable. We only lasted about 4 months, but it was a mentally exhausting and long 4 months. Edit spelling. Story 14. Deleted all her text messages after every night of drinking. 2. Accused me of cheating. I wasn't, but had suspicious friendships with guys. Would fly off the handle when I'd play devil's advocate and ask her what was up. 3. Slept with ex. Admittedly the day we broke up. In hindsight, yeah, I am an idiot. Story 15. Didn't laugh once when watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That and she cheated on me twice, but that not laughing thing was really the epitome of red flags. Story 16. Broke up with Maya 4 years recently. I am just getting past the point of defending him and starting to realize some huge red flags I overlooked. I started therapy mid-relationship for childhood abuse. I worked up the courage to tell him about the abuse, in order to be open and honest. He reacted by stopping any physical relationship with me, and saying it made him uncomfortable talking about it. That made me feel great. He would have temper tantrums, he is an adult, where he would flip out over nothing, all the time, and I would take the brunt of the verbal abuse. It became impossible to do anything, going to the store, see a movie, anything, without worrying that he would fly off the handle and yell at someone or me. The way he spoke to his mother was abhorrent. He consistently snapped at her for no reason. She asked for help fixing her computer. She's in her 60s and not tech savvy, and at some point he got so upset he called her an idiot. Since we broke up, he keeps texting me trying to guilt me into talking to him. "My family really wants to see you. My mom made you an Easter basket, but I guess it doesn't matter now." Story 17. I dated a crazy guy once. I posted it a few months back, but basically he wanted a wife and he wanted her yesterday. There was a lot of pressure to move forward quickly, and we barely knew each other. He had this idea of what he wanted, and I met more than half of it probably. He just filled in the rest. He projected a lot of qualities on me that I didn't have. He always tried to act like we had this deep bond. He would put on a show for waitresses or cashiers or anyone in public like he knew me better than anyone and nobody could match what we had. I remember after a month, he handed me a card to keep in my wallet with his name and phone number, and a note to emergency responders that he should be called. I told him I had an IC contact in my phone and it was definitely not him. I eventually said I would do it, but threw it away. There's more, but this is already a wall of text. Sorry for any formatting issues. I'm on my phone. Story 18. If she tries to pressure you or guilt trip you into doing small things you don't want to do, she will probably end up pressuring and guilt tripping you into doing big things you don't want to do. Luckily, I recognized that being guilt tripped into marrying someone was not normal. Story 19. You're too sensitive. Constantly made fun of me for my interests. I don't know why you're dating me. I'm such a I hate drama. I don't know why you play so many video games. They're stupid. She knew I played video games a lot for the years I knew her beforehand. I want my man to take care of me, but I'm an independent woman. She attended college for 5 years just so she could have someone completely carry her weight for her. She would get mad at me all the time, but I was never allowed to get mad at her. I once got mad at her for a legitimate reason, but she started pitching a fit, then ignored me for days. The list goes on, but those were the biggest. Story 20. Poor self-control. She couldn't stop herself from eating all the cookies in the house. She got angry at me for buying them when I was fine eating 1 or 2 a day. No respect for rules or authority. She ran red lights, walked across the grass instead of the sidewalk, stole things she thought were not to be missed, never happy. She always read way more into things than were actually said, burning through friends like lumber. If someone didn't invite her to a party or our kids, then she would write them off and never talk to them again. Story 21. Sitting naked on the floor in tears, tearing apart her wedding dress with a large, sharp knife. Took me 10 years to figure out she might have been upset about something. Edit. Alright, I was being flip and keeping it light. Hey, race the background. First, she's a fine woman who happens to suffer from mental illness. We're no longer married, but we're still friendly. We were going through a rough patch. We had lost our first child. It's tough to relate to someone who hasn't experienced that how it feels. People react in different ways. Me, I spent a week sitting alone in the dark with a gun and a bottle of booze, not wondering if I would wake up the next day. She became more manic. Marriage would have ended there, but she became pregnant again, so there she is on the floor with a knife. My 1-month-old son is in his chair, right next to her. Now, if there's not a child involved, there are a dozen smarter things to do than what I did, but sometimes you have to deal with the situation as it is, not as you would like it. I went to remove my son, approaching calmly and maintaining eye contact. Her eyes were dead, yet wild at the same time, she charged. Well, I got it pretty good, but I was able to get the knife out of her hand. Took the boy to my office where we would spend the next few days. Patched myself up the best I could and took myself to the hospital first. Said I was cleaning my knife when it slipped. Twice. I'm sure they didn't buy that, but what can you do? That night I booked a flight for my mother-in-law to come out to get her help. She would spend a few weeks committed in a hospital. She got better. But the next 10 years would be a difficult marriage. She would have good days and bad days. And now she's a fairly happy person. Life goes on. Story 22. I had gone to visit him at his apartment because he wanted to introduce me to his friends. As I gave them some drinks, he lifted my skirt to show his friends how sexy my thighs were. I was holding a tray and couldn't immediately pull my skirt down, so they saw everything. Stupid me stayed but left after 1 month after one of those friends kept winking at me. Story 23. I dated a guy for a few months who had been previously married young when he deployed. She cheated, that whole story. He also happened to have much more experience than me. I wasn't a virgin, just hadn't been with many people. He never seemed enthusiastic about, never initiated, and wouldn't communicate with me at all even when I expressly asked him what he wanted. Head just flat out refused to tell me and kept saying cryptically hurtful things like figure it out when I'd ask what he liked. One time after he said something like that when I was naked next to him and I asked him why he couldn't just show me or speak up, he shrugged, looked me straight in the eyes and said I just don't feel like having to train someone again after 12 years. Like having is a huge annoyance like potty training a dog or something. I should have run. I should have run right then. Instead I let him destroy my self-esteem for a few more months and now I try not to have panic attacks about. So I've got that going for me, which isn't great. Story 24. 1. Jealousy from hanging out with any other member of the opposite. My sister included. 2. Blatant disregard for the above when it applied to herself. 3. 3 months in, she wanted to get married and have children. We were juniors in high school. 4. Illogical fits. Excessive nitpicking. Hypercriticism. 5. Making excuses to hang out with other guys constantly. Story 25. Using mommy and daddy's credit card to pay for everything because he was in school and didn't have a job. Also letting his mother do mundane for him like make doctor's appointments, etc. He was 29. Story 26. She was suddenly emotionally dead around me one day. Ends up she had a sort of one-sided falling out with me but letting me in any way know even when asked or making even the most meager attempt to fix things didn't occur to her. Story 27. Mine is a bit specific, but if it can help some poor kid not get hurt I'll post it. It's 2 parts. First, on the first night we stayed together she mentioned her friends don't like me. Weird. I thought because I only know her friends in brief passing. She told me not to worry, she wants to stay with me so she'll talk to them about it. TMR. She never told them. Our relationship was a secret. I should have just told her it wasn't worth the effort. Story 28. We got into an argument when he was driving during a road trip. He completely flipped out, was speeding, weaving in and out of traffic, yelling and banging on the steering wheel. He would not stop or pull over even though I was crying and asking him to repeatedly. I am sure you will all be shocked to hear that he turned out to be abusive. Story 29. A gorgeous girl who graduated with honors from a private college, with a great job, unique style, and well-spoken. Why would a girl like this have no friends? Found out in time. Story 30. She always thought I was cheating on her and was jealous, despite zero indication that I was untrustworthy. Took me 4 years but now I get it. People who are worried about you cheating are either doing it or capable of it themselves. It's not about you. Story 31. 1. Lying, even about small mundane things too. If she cheated with you she will cheat on you. 3. Has a bunch of guy friends but not many girlfriends because guys are easier than girls, for you are never introduced to said group of good guy friends. 5. The only thing they are passionate about is style, celeb gossip, and how they look. 6. Money is the most important thing ever. Story 32. She told me she wanted to be stabbed during. She had a dark sense of humor, so I took it as a joke the first few times she said it. Then when she persisted, I refused and she responded with I don't mean anything serious, just like in the leg or something. She also wanted me to get her pregnant. We were juniors in high school. I also found out she enjoyed looking at pictures of dead people online. Needless to say, I ended the relationship and urged her to go into some sort of therapy. She had a slew of mental problems that I wasn't equipped to handle since I was only in high school. We remained friends for a while after, and then just kind of drifted. Story 33. getting nervous every time they get a phone call text in front of you, has lots of girls for friends, very vague about their everyday life, activities, etc. Story 34-1. Her lack of cleanliness. 2. Starting a project and never following through with it. 3. Starting an argument when she doesn't get what she wants and guilt-tripping me to the point of not talking to me or blatantly causing a scene in public to try and embarrass me. 4. Had a really awful sense of entitlement. Had a holier-than-thou attitude around my family, and even became outspoken with her opinions on the topic of social status. Am born, raised, and still live in North Carolina, but she is the third generation of Italian-Croatian immigrants from the West Coast. In her opinion, we are all ignorant rednecks who should be delighted that we had someone like her in our lives because she could have done so much better. Paraphrasing. 5. She was a devout Catholic, and I was raised in a Southern Baptist home. When the topic of religion would come about, all of a sudden her beliefs and opinions turned to facts, and mine became ignorant interpretations of the Bible, i.e. child baptism, contraceptives, alcohol consumption, self-righteousness. I could go on and on forever. Yeah, I'm an atheist now. 6. She would ask for my input or opinion all the time, and then when she didn't hear what she wanted, she completely disregarded everything I said, and did what she wanted to do. Then another guilt trip. 7. Never could keep a job. She was always quitting because she said she couldn't get along with. Or it was an awful place to work with no organization or professionalism. I'm convinced now that she only quit because she knew she was going to be fired, further inflating her ego because she could say that she was never fired from a position. Edit added number 7 after I thought about it. Story 35. About 4 months after we started dating, we started working together. She did not want anyone at work to know that we were dating. I told her we could try and do that as long as we could, but I knew eventually it would get out. Fast forward to a month later. Some people at work find out, and after a few days of me denying it, I finally said that we had been dating. Even after it was out in the open, she flat out denied it to them multiple times and told me, in public, to stop telling people we were dating. A few months later, she's at the bar with our friends. I was out celebrating the Red Sox World Series win, and she gets me to go to the bar. I show up, and while looking for her in the bar, one of our friends, who was extremely drunk, tried to dance with me, and I pushed her away. She saw it happen, and instead of trying to figure out what happened, she runs out the bar and refuses to listen to me about what actually happened. She still to this day thinks that I was grinding all up in this girl, even though everyone there, including that girl, told me otherwise. She also told me I couldn't drink as she didn't like me when I was drunk. I ignored that, but still a flag. We eventually broke up, and I moved on. She started dating someone else within 10 days of us breaking a 8-move relationship. To this day she keeps bugging me and asking why I want her out of my life because she did nothing wrong. Story 36. I once had a boyfriend that told me he cheated on every single one of his girlfriends. I figured I was special or something. Big shocker. He cheated on me. Story 37. Your friends don't like them, all of your friends. She gets mad that you're spending time with your friends and not her. She wants you to talk to only her at the party she brought you to. She sends you a photo of her dad's AK-47 when you try to break up with her. Different girl the moment you start seeing somebody else, she wants you back. Story 38. Magically deciding to hang out with a new group of friends 4 months in which I was never invited to because I didn't know them. Talking about other guys and hiding her phone away from me while Snapchatting with them. Only spending an hour or two with me at a time, and asking for rides to work constantly. Claiming that she didn't like to make plans and everything should be spontaneous. Not talking about the future because she did not like planning that far ahead. Drinking alcohol every night religiously and using me to buy her beer, still convinced she cheated. She left me for someone else a week ago. You don't date someone that fast unless something else was going on during our relationship. And I can guarantee she will repeat this cycle. Story 39. Met, engaged, planned wedding, moved to new city together, etc. She looked at me at dinner one night, said she was leaving and was gone 48 hours later. The 15K character story is in a series of posts, 3 posts, to be exact, in my history if anyone cares. In short, she acted different around me and her family than she did with her friends, then would pull the friend persona when we'd fight. I should have paid more attention to the Jekyll Hyde thing. Story 41. Suspecting every female friend I have and I are planning to or currently engaging in activities. Even the married ones who, including their SOs, I've known and been friends with for years too, getting mad at me because I went out without them, e.g., grabbed a beer with my buddies after work and I had a good time. 3. Family drama. No matter how much they tell you they're in control of whatever drama is going on, they aren't, and they eventually take it out on you either directly or passive-aggressively. Remember kids, when you marry someone, you marry their family. Story 41. Accusing me of cheating when it was her that was. Not being happy if I had a different opinion to hers. Not being happy if I had the same opinion as hers, really. Story 42. I had a lot of red flags I should have noticed. My SO came with a lot of extra baggage, and her history was by far the biggest textbook red flag imaginable. I strongly believe in the once a cheater, always a cheater because I have been on all sides of the issue. Yes, I did cheat, cheater, cheated on, and the instrument of cheating, cheated with. Disclaimer: I didn't realize any of this, the flags, until she left me. As the title states, she was emotionally unstable, and probably still is. She was the type to constantly seek attention to validate her own self-worth as a person. The amount of attention she got on an average day directly affected how her day went. If 3 or 4 guys got her number, she was happy, etc. If nobody hit on her, crying spell ensued. that's how she was. I knew it got bad when I would go to a party and people would instantly recognize me. It was usually, "Oh, so you are the one dating ex." People would snicker, girls would give us the disgust look and guys would chuckle, if not laugh at me. Mind you, I didn't understand why until the end. Eventually she mellowed out. We had a long stint together and she flourished into a beautiful person. So I thought, flags, she was on my case about the girls I dated. Yet she would shut down when I asked about her partner history. Cheated on every guy she dated. Issues with the word platonic. The majority of her guy friends she slept with. Only one mutual friend we had in common she never had success with making a move on. At the time we met, my friend threw us together in an attempt to lure me away from the girl he was after. Knowing her, it worked. What people didn't expect was that we would start dating. Every time I bumped into her in public, either expecting to meet up or not, she was always talking to a guy. I never asked nor did I really care, yet she had a need to explain, "Oh, it's just a guy I used to see but we are friends now," etc. She would give out her number to guys at the bars, parties, etc., but freaked out if I did the same. Never actually did. I've noticed when I start dating that both parties had hookups and booty calls on the side, but we would both cut them off for obvious reasons. Her, nope, she entertained them well into our relationship. I didn't know, but I was told later that the guys 4 of her previous hookups she would go out and meet for drinks and dinner. People would recognize me as that guy dating ex. She had a reputation and I became a part of it. Most controversial long rap sheet of assaults. You can guess. It ended with her cheating on me, naturally. Of course I'm still bitter because she has rallied countless people to her side. Her friends condoned her actions, and she surrounds herself with people that would do anything for her. She's back at it again. Constantly seeking attention for her self-worth and utility as a person and an employee. Everything is OMG, one of the boys, etc. The day a girl prettier than her steps in her shift is the day she puts in her 2-week notice. I guarantee it. It's sad knowing that she was a beautiful person. I trusted her. Yes, I had my jealous moments, as did she, but I never knew that she was actually like this. It's truly heartbreaking knowing that she made a 180, grew with me, and then went straight back at it. Old habits die hard, I guess. Story 43. Getting you to do things by guilt-tripping you. Being in a bad mood a lot of the time without a clear reason. Trying to keep you from your friends. Keeps insisting you get a house so she can move in. Grew up in extremely unstable family life. Never wanted to work a real job. Story 44. Red flags on guys. Being private about his cell phone. I understand privacy, but I had a boyfriend that would not leave his cell phone anywhere, had a lock code that nobody else knew, and turned away from me when texting, so the screen would never face me. He would get really defensive if I even said, "Oh, is that best friend?" Turns out he had 4 relationships going at once. Not being Facebook official and getting defensive about it. I understand not being that into it, but if they're very against it, there is probably a reason. Same guy, same relationships. I found out from a girl messaging me on Facebook because I had commented on her boyfriend's status. The same guy that I had been living with for a year. Turns out they had been dating for 5 months, being shady about credit. Finance is sensitive for everybody, but if you can't apply for a house or a phone or a car, there were some issues that you at least need to talk out. I'm not saying it's a deal breaker for everybody. It may have just been a bad situation, but it's worth finding out if you really want to trust this person. Being needy when you want to go out. Yes, everybody likes time with their so, but being needy early on in a relationship sometimes indicates that it will get more intense with time. How to avoid these red flags. Be honest and spend time with honest people. Seriously, if you want to build a relationship with someone, you need trust. Trust is dependent on honesty. Edit. Reading over this, I guess they're not really red flags for guys. They're red flags for everybody. It doesn't matter if it's a guy or a girl, either can be kind and fun and fair, or they can be brutal and dishonest and a real bummer, penis or no penis. Story 45. Not having custody of her 2 kids. Her ex-husband takes care of the son they had together and the girl she had before she was married. She has no sense of responsibility. Is 32 and all of her friends are barely in their 20s. To say irresponsible is an understatement. Nice person, doesn't want to grow up. Story 46. Asking about your past relationships. If you have moved on from it, then it's a learning experience and 0 good will come up from talking about it. If their ex still makes them emotional, angry or happy, then they haven't fully moved on. Story 47. Excuses. Excuses for everything. So many excuses. I've never experienced anything like it before her. She had at least a dozen excuses why she couldn't do anything that I wanted to do. If her usual excuses wouldn't cut it, she would default to "I have a migraine," which I discovered was complete BS. Can't make an appearance at a mutual friend's house for a couple hours because of this debilitating headache, but it sure wouldn't stop her from jumping in her car and driving 2 hours to go to IKEA or the Ulit stores. She was so super smart she would call me to tell me she was there. Should have ran the away when she told me it would be distressful to meet my dad and brother over lunch, even though I met her entire immediate family by our second date. Then there was the whole yelling at me because her Pomeranian puppy was looking at me and not her. That was when I knew the end was nigh. Story 48. Wasn't my ex, we were seeing each other. She programmed anniversary dates on my phone without my knowledge. The first one was happy 3 weeks YUP, ran away. Story 49. Sad but true. The classic talking about his ex is insane. When it was she who broke up with him, even sadder, fell for this one 3 times with 3 different guys. Story 50. Whenever she talked about her exes and the stuff they would do to her, she made herself out to be the victim and took no blame. Found out much later that all the stuff she claimed her exes did, she was doing to me, hitting, kicking, badmouthing, controlling, and from those exes and mutual friends, found out all that stuff she said they did, she was the one doing it. Story 51, I blocked out. A lot of that happened with my ex. But the few things I remember are that he was very controlling, telling me who I can and can't talk to, yet he was allowed to do whatever he pleased. A compulsive liar, making up insane stories about how he punched through a glass window and lost so much blood he almost died, which was later confirmed to be false by his mother. Oh, and he had never had a job in his life at 23 years old. And I complied with everything. I was an idiot. Story 52, she always tried to make me jealous by trying to claim that my friends wanted to bang her, and constantly tried to test me about what I thought about her friends. Was really annoying. Story 53, this is late, and there is no way I can list everything he did on mobile, but the things that stick out: 1. He called me fat and made me do 250 sit-ups a night while on the phone with him. If I didn't do them good enough, how could he know? He made me do more. 2. Not allowed contact with males, at all, including my dad and brother. If I even glanced in the direction of a guy, it meant I wanted to them, even if I was looking at something else. Couldn't have girlfriends either, they might have a brother. I gave my number to a girl once, he made me get it back. 3. Dictated my clothes, hair, everything. I had to wear 2 thick hoodies, zipped to my chin, year-round. Even in 100F weather. 4. If he was mad at me, forced me to have to make it better. He once filmed me against my wishes. The video has me crying and begging him to turn it off. 5. I was raped at 13. He told me I was a used up because of that, and told me I deserved it, harassed me about it until I admitted I wanted it. Said I was lucky he would even have me, nobody else would ever love me. 6. Once threw a knife at me, told me to off myself, then he took a nap. 7. I wasn't allowed my own opinions or thoughts. 8. I had to check in constantly. If I didn't call him every 30 minutes, or answer on the first ring, I must be somebody. He would come by places he knew I was at and check on me. If in class I was sitting near a guy, it was to pay, go through a male cashier. Oh lordy man, there is so much more. I didn't leave because the adult relationships in my life were toxic. I thought it was love. I was 14 to 17-ish. He cheated on me constantly, and left me when my parents, especially my mom, took notice. I hid it all well, but my depression started to destroy me to the point I could not leave bed and started vomiting blood. It all came out at the DRs. I was devastated. He was my world as he intended, and strung me along until a year later it was like I woke up and realized I was never putting up with that again. Sorry again for any errors. Touch screens are difficult. Thank you for letting me vent. It feels good.